Alright, so now that we want to insert these here, we need to first clear a space for them, and then we can find out how many polys or edges we're going to need in each of these. And they're going to be different, left one to right one, just because of the way that one of these is bisected by this, this edge here. This one will fit the entire thing in, but we have to see how many edges we're going to need. So before we actually even do that, we're going to do a little bit of edge cleanup here, and it's because there are a couple of edges that aren't needed in here. You can see they kind of clutter up this corner, and then they run through the rest of that underside and pretty much just, you know, make a little bit of a mess of things, and they aren't really needed for the rigidity of this model. So you know, we can get rid of that one, and I have to check here. We may be able to get rid of this one too. Yep. So let's double check here down here. I'm going to check both edges before I actually hit the delete key. Yeah, overall I'll say that's good. That's going to remove, it's actually going to remove up to 4 needed edges on these because it will hit them from both sides. So that's going to be really useful. Now I'm going to unsubdivide, and we're just going to start to kind of move things around. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the area that makes up these loops here, and I'm going to decrease it. So I'm going to pull everything kind of back away from here. I'm just going to tell it to back away from the cylinder. So let's just grab these and move them down and back. And I'm going to grab this one down here, do the same kind of thing, so that we have something a little easier to work with here. I'm going to grab these, pull them down. I'm just looking to give myself a little bit of daylight here between all of these. And then let's see, looks like we want to get this one a little bit more out of the way. And since we had built in that little buffer edge, you can see it right in here, we can get relatively distorted with this outlying edge, and it's not really going to make much of a difference. I'm going to try and keep it relatively neat and tidy here, but there's going to get to be a point where we just want to get this all to fit in, and really it's not going to matter how neat and tidy this is for the most part. So let's make sure I'm on automatic selection center. It's going to make my life a little easier here. And actually that one won't matter. Let's see here. Let's see how I'm doing. So let's go over to polys, and I'm just going to check all of this stuff here and see if I have an even space that I can fit this into. I'm not even going to worry about the tight edges or anything here, the ones that are coming close to each other. I could space those out a little, but really it's not going to be all that necessary, so I'm not going to even worry about it. And this is, I worry a little bit here, this is getting a little bit tight, so I'm going to grab this edge and actually, I want to get this and this whole thing here. I want to move it, but I don't want to mess with this edge here, so I'm going to change my action center to element, select this edge right here, and then I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. And oops, let's change that back to automatic. And then we should have everything here. So if I just go ahead and, well, first I can check here by getting my border, and I can see that this is 20 edges. Oops, but there's something that's not in this selection. There's that. So now let's try it again. Check the boundary. Now we're looking at 18 edges. And I'm guessing I can probably pare this down even a little bit more. So let's see. I think the way that I can do that is by going to vertex mode, grabbing these guys, and pulling them down there. Oops. Get those. There we go. Now I'm going to go back here and we can deselect all this stuff. That ought to remove at least a couple. Let's check that boundary again. 16. So we're moving down here. If I can, I want to get it down to 12, just so that I have an easier time. I don't have to rebuild this, but honestly, I think working all that hard to get 4 edges off of here, probably not going to be worth my while. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and make a rebuild of that one. So let's go ahead and go back to my top view. Make sure I'm looking at the right one here. Let's see, it's this one. Alrighty. So let's go over here, and I'm going to get my cylinder tool, and I'm going to just, oops. Oops, sometimes you get that, so let's just hide Modo and bring it back. Let's save this, because that seems a little weird. I don't have something in my... Alright, that's really weird. Oh, there we go. Popping up now. That was odd. So I can take this, I'm at 16 segments, so that's right. And I think we're looking at 2.3 looks like. And then there, that'll work. Now I'm going to get, well, let's see. I probably don't have that anywhere near centered up, and I don't. So let's just grab it and pull it down. And what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab all those vertices, go to vertex, set position, and I want these to be at 1.7 millimeters on the Y. Just make sure, there we go, make sure they're in the right place. Looks like they didn't move, so that's good. I'm going to flip it so it's facing the right way here, get that boundary again, and I'll edge extend it out, and then I'll go straight to my scale tool, and I'll pull that on out. Alrighty, and now I'll just grab this, loop, bevel, make sure that group polygons are on, and we'll drag those down 1.7 millimeters. And now since this one is going to go pretty much straight in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and loop slice this one up. So 2 in symmetry, set it to 2%. Let's grab this inner poly here, bevel it in 100 UM. And subdivide, we should be good. Looks good. So I'm going to take this now and cut it out, move into my layer that I have here. Oops, take that back, let's paste it in again. I'm going to go here and cut out the hole first, so let's... So that's our hole. Make sure I do have a little bit of clearance there, which I do. So let's cut that out. Over here, cut this, paste it into here. Go ahead and apply my material while I'm here. And select the boundary. Select that one. We're looking at 32 edges, which is right. Now we're going to run just the bridge tool here, and this may give us a little bit of an issue, but it should be pretty close. Just have to check and make sure at these tight edges that we're not getting anything really bad. It looks like we're probably okay. So I am going to want to run one loop slice through here. And just like usual, I'm going to keep that in at about 2%. And so that one's, like I said, you'll get a little bit of lumpiness always looking on these polys as you move around. But since we know we just cut out an even hole, we should be good. And then we can always double check in here, and it's looking nice and solid. So now we move on to the problem child of work here. And let's see. So let's look then at this piece over here. All right, now on this one, let's get it visible. I know from experience that we're going to need more edges in here to make this work, and actually the number that we're going to need is roughly double. Now we could just go ahead and hit the D key, but this is going to give us some issues, and that's things like this here at these corners. We're going to get them slightly rounded. It's going to add some extra things that we don't need, and then it's also just going to be more cleanup than it's worth. So let's undo that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to polygons. Oops, let's make sure I'm in quad view. I'm going to select this stuff here and cut it out. Let's unsubdivide so we can see what we're looking at. That works. Okay. And then I'm also going to get rid of this loop here. Otherwise, this could cause some problems. You can always add that back in, but I think this one should be okay without that little perimeter edge. So, okay, so let's go ahead and hit the D key again. We're going to get a little bit of that rounding at this corner, but it's not really going to be noticeable in sub D. So I'm going to get rid of all of these edges here. We don't need those. And I'm going to do the same thing down here and on the inside. Because vertically, we don't really need anything extra. We don't want anything extra because on the wall that runs around, we just have the base polygon with a sharpening edge top and bottom. So we're actually good there. Okay, like I said, we have a little bit of rounding there, but we can either fix that or probably just leave it and it's going to be fine. Okay, and now we need to look at where this is going to go in space. Now, before we do that, I'm actually going to go here again to the underlying layer, and we're going to play a little game of adjust the edges. So, let's see here. Looks like we got a little bit of pinching over here on this one, but it fixes itself all right in sub D. But since I'm here, let's just pull this over and see if that helps at all. Oops, let me hide my other layer because we don't need that right now for the moment. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like we're getting rid of it, which is really kind of weird. Let's see, they just flipped. Yeah. Sometimes hitting the F key twice to flip and then unflip an edge or a poly like this will clear things up. This seems like the most questionable one here. But again, it looks like it's working well in sub D, so we're not going to worry about it. Yeah, even here at this edge, which is really tight, we're looking all right. All right, so let's unsubdivide again, and I'm going to bring back in that, that underlying layer. And what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to take, oops, I'm seeing one other thing here. There's always one other thing to catch your attention when you get into these really detailed parts. This one is right in here. I'm just going to grab that guy and move it down. Oops, that's the wrong down. This is the down I want. Down screen and not down position. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do here, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by myself, is we want to take this edge here, this corner, and I want to move it back to be, roughly aligned with the edge here. So let's just go to vertices. I'm going to grab all of those and the move tool. Set our action center to element. I'm just going to click down here and drag those just about there. Ought to do it. We just want somewhere that we can bridge to. We're going to bridge from here over to there, and that ought to be just about perfect. Now the next thing we're going to need is we're actually going to need 2 extra edges that will run down here. So I'm going to run a loop slice. I'm going to set it to 1, and I'm going to drag 1 out here to be kind of close to this edge, and another one to be just inside there. That's going to align with our sharpening edge of our cylinder, so that will give us a little bit more to work for there. All right, now I'm going to start kind of blocking out the space that it's in, and here we're not having too many problems. Oops, let's go to point mode, back to our automatic action center. This part is looking pretty good, and what we'll do is we'll take this section all through here, and then all this. We're even taking all this out. Oops, not the ones along the top. Those we want to leave so we can have something to bridge to. And then we'll go across here, but we need to take, so these edges need to come down. So let's go back to edge mode. I'll start with these here. Just grab them and move them down yonder like that. And those don't want to rotate very well, so that's alright. Just grab them separately and pull them down. And then I'm going to grab this, oops. Grab that vertex and pull it down. And just to kind of space things out a little bit better, I'm going to pull these ones over and over. Just give myself a little bit nicer spacing here, since it's not going to cause me that much hassle to do so. All right, and now what I'm going to do here additionally is I'm going to take these edges right here, and I want to slide them in as close to this as I can get them. So let me just right click on these, slide, and I'm just going to slide them down here. I want to leave myself a little bit of space so I make sure that I have room to bridge to, but overall something like that ought to just about do it. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Oops. Same thing here with this set. Make sure I've got the whole thing. I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide it over here. And this one, I don't care if it's super close, but this is basically something to pick up my sharpening edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here with a couple of these. These are actually really tightly spaced, oops, but I can space them out and it's not going to cause me any problems at all here. So I'll put one just on the inside here and one down here, just about there. So now I've set up my framework so that I have sharpening edge and regular edge, sharpening edge and regular edge. Actually, we'll end up deleting a little bit here, but we'll see that in a second. We're actually going to create a triangle on that corner. And then I'll need, let's see, actually let's do this one more time here. Oops. Take you, slide you kind of over here. Again, that's going to be kind of for the sharpening edge on the inside of the circle that's at the bottom. And you and over there performing the same function, because really we got just kind of one broad poly that stretches across there, that big end gone, so that ought to be that'll work out pretty well. I think the one thing that I am going to do here is take these and try to get all of them, and I'm going to slide these over. Just that's what you get for thinking. I'm going to do these one at a time. Because well, actually let's just pull that one out and that ought to work. Because I don't want to have to go past this polygon as far as edges, or excuse me, polys that I delete in order to get it in there. Now this one is going to see an increase in polys, but that's okay because we actually have already added in polys, so we should be in pretty good shape. Now, let's see here. Let me get up through there. And we're going to grab all this stuff and all this stuff in here. We're going to end up recreating this edge here. We'll just do that manually to make sure that we get it where we want it. And through there. Grab this guy. I'm going to make sure that I get all this stuff in here too. So just to make sure I've got everything even, I'm just going to select the boundary again and make sure that I've got a boundary. Let's go over to vertices. I'm going to grab this guy and slide it over here just so we don't have such a weird edge. Oops. Yeah. Something like that. I know, it looks scary. Don't worry. It'll work out. So now that we have the affected area there cut out, now we have to go back and cut out these polygons in places that will allow us to work with them. So let's go over to this layer. And I'm going to start by getting a little bit more than I need. So let's select all this loop here. And oops. Need symmetry. Let's get that loop and shift right arrow my way around. And I'm going to go up on this side. I'm going to go just up to here. Actually, let's just go up one more. Oops. We can slice that in half if we want, or we can just leave it. And this edge we can just slide back. probably work well. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to leave the whole thing in here so that I have it for my reference should I need it. And we're going to paste in here. Now let's see. Let's start just by hiding everything else for just a second. And I'm going to grab this edge and slide it back. Well, I think I am. Well, maybe I'm not. Is it already snapping on? No. Alright, in that case I'm just going to use the move tool and we'll change our action center to elements. I'll click on this poly here and we'll just drag it back. Works almost exactly the same. Alright, so let's unhide and we'll see where we're at there. Now that's looking, that's beginning to look plausible. So let's see, we're going to start here just by hooking up some of the top edges. And before we do this part here, we're going to, we're going to delete a couple of polys that we missed. That's the first thing that we're going to do. So I'm going to grab these 2 polys because I don't want anything hanging down with those 3 actually. Cut those out because this is going to be a connection point. And here we have a corner and we really just need one. So what I'm going to do is go to vertices, just delete that one. Then I'm going to grab this edge, and that edge. And those are going to be attached to this edge. And actually, I lie. Sorry about that. I'm going to select all this thing first. Shift up arrow once, R for the scale tool. And then I'm just going to flatten this down. Oops, turn off your negative scale might help. Just going to flatten this down and make sure we're working on an even level. Let's go back to edges. We should have those still selected. We do. So get that one, and that one. We'll go ahead and run bridge. So there we have the work has begun. Small steps, right? Small little steps. And here, let's see, I kind of go back and forth on how I like to do this. I think this time I'm just going to cut this one out, and we'll do the same thing that we had done on the other side. So let's go to edges. I'll select those 3, and we'll attach those to those 3. So we'll go ahead and run bridge, and there we're set. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to grab these 3, leaving out that little tight edge. We might need that later. In fact, we probably will. We'll probably end up just running an extra loop through here to sharpen it, and then we'll use that there. Okay, we'll select those 3 in bridge. And you can occasionally check by going into subd mode, but in some areas it's going to be really off, so don't get too freaked out if you check and you get some real weirdness. But overall, that's honestly, that's a pretty decent start. So let's unsubdivide here. And I'm going to take this edge here, and I'm going to slide it down. Oh, that slide tool is working really slow today. So let's go back to move. We'll just use this edge. I'm going to drag that over pretty close there. In this case, we're going to have a little corner that we're going to build. Over here, oops, we got to do the same thing. Drag this one down here closer. So we're going to build in a corner here, and I'm going to start that corner by taking this edge here, running edge extend, and just pulling down 1.7 millimeters. So we know that this edge is still going to be aligned to that inner edge the way that we want it. And I'm going to go to edges, get these 2 outside edges, run loop slice. I want to make sure this is set to 2 and symmetry. And we'll pull that out to 2% there. Okay. And now, let's see here. I take it back. Sorry, let's back up a step here. Let's cut that guy out. What we need to do is get all 3 of these. Sorry about that. So we have our sharpening edge is going to extend down with us, and we have that hole that we can still bridge. So again, Z for edge extend. Hold down 1.7 millimeters. There we go. And we'll grab these 2, run our loop slices in there, and we'll grab these 3 edges and these 3 edges. Oops, we're not getting that one. Run bridge, and there we have that. Do the same thing over here. And what we could do is we could always slide this in closer, and we may do that as we get further down, but this should run it okay. So we'll select these 3 edges and these 3 edges, bridge, and there we go. So let's go ahead and subdivide that. You can see we're getting pretty close already. You have a bit of a stretch right here, just due to the way that this is, and also due to the way this is. So what we could do here, let's just grab this guy. I'm going to move it, select itself as the action center, we'll slide down here. We'll subdivide, and that alone is getting us much, much closer to the desired endpoint. All right, so let's bridge in. So let's unsubdivide, and we'll bridge in this point now. And this kind of thing is usually best to do your bridging in pieces. Otherwise, you may end up with some just one off point around the circumference of it here, and it's going to throw off everything bridging nicely through here. Everything's going to be shifted off, even if you have the exact number of edges on each side. So I really recommend kind of treating these with care and doing all your sections a little bit individually. Will help out a lot. Okay, so now we're getting quite close. Let's see what we have here. That's probably going to be our open edge there. So we'll get 1, 2, 3, and let's just keep a count up here. And there's our open edge there, so we're at 16. And then let's check here. 1, 2, so we're at 15. So we really need one more edge, or we need to get rid of one edge on here somewhere. So given these options, I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more edge. So let's go to polygon mode. And that edge that I'm going to choose to add is going to be right in here. So loop slice, set it to 1, and free. I'm going to drag it up kind of close here. Just help me kind of sharpen up this corner where I feel it was a little on the loose side anyway. And then let's go back over. Actually, I could check that. Yeah, that's looking nicer anyway. So that's going to be beneficial on all accounts. So let's deselect this stuff here, there. We'll select here, and here. We should be at 32 edges, which we are. Go ahead, run bridge, click. And again, we might get a little bit of swirliness on that, but that's okay. And one more time, what you may want to do is run a loop slice. I think what I'm going to do in this case, oops. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that like that. Since we are getting a little bit of pinching down here. And I should actually be out of sub-D mode to do this, so let's unsub-D. And I'm going to go ahead and bridge. Oops, again. Oh, we can see there we go. There's our culprit, and that's that one extra edge that we were looking at. So got one extra edge there that we'll need to take into account. And this side works pretty much as advertised. So I could put a triangle in there, but decisions. Could put a triangle in there. And let's try it with a triangle, because the occasional triangle is definitely not going to kill us. And this actually gives me an interesting opportunity here. I'm going to take this and delete this extra edge that I had here, because what I want to do is run one extra loop slice kind of close down here. We'll go up to 10%. I want to over sharpen. And I'm going to do the same thing here for continuity's sake, and then that will also smooth that out without adding that extra edge that was getting really tight here in this kind of corner area out of there. That leaves us just one space left, and that is right here. So I'll select all this, hit P, go to poly mode, select that bevel, jump right to my scale tool, oops, set my action center back to auto, and we'll pull in just a few percent. I think 5 ought to do nicely. And there, ladies and gentlemen, you have it. One of the ugliest pieces you'll ever sub-D model. And in some ways, one of the ugliest polyflows, but you will notice that the way that we've set everything up, all the disturbance that we're getting in polyflow here is fitting evenly into a space we'd already pre-designed for it, with the exception of this one edge here. And really, there were multiple options that I had to handle that. One thing I could even do here, and let's go over to poly mode. Let's look at this real quick, is if I move around here, I could even run a single loop slice. And we'll see this one, oops, that one goes into a bad place. What we want to do here is slice selected. And then you could terminate this here really easily just by drawing an edge into there and then running it. And actually here, that's what I'm going to do, because this is going to be really beneficial also. Let's see, that loop, let's see where that's going. No, that's not the edge I was thinking of. This is, yeah. I'm going to run one more loop slice through here. Of course, it's going to blow it all crazy when I am in sub D. So what I'm doing here is I'm just looking for the place to terminate this. So first thing I want to do is finish this edge right here. Right here. Oop. Oh, that's weird. Here, let's back up to before I had run that. And you know, let's take it back. Let's just leave that triangle in the corner there, because we did sharpen it up with an extra edge through there, so it's working pretty well for us. So, but you could do that, run an extra loop around there, attach the verts that come at the corner, and you would basically have two what are essentially triangles that would have an edge that runs into the middle of them, and it makes a lopsided quad. It's kind of a triangular shaped quad. In this case, this triangle is so unobtrusive, it's in the corner, it's out of the way, that we're not even going to need to worry about it. So there we go. The wing is created. Oh, and as I said, this is a nice bonus piece. Let's go ahead and save our preset. So save item preset, and let's see, make sure I put you in the right place. And let's go back to assets, meshes, Modos, and this is and this would be the wing that would go kind of on the left side. See, because if it's on the left side, if the plane's facing towards us, then it's going to be tapered back the right way. So we'll call this wing L. And then we're going to take the whole thing here. Let's go back to our quad view. And what I'm going to do is I want to leave it in the same spacing. Actually, I guess it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take it and move it down. Let's just go 12 millimeters. Shift V, and I'm going to mirror this on the Z. I'll click apply. We'll We'll cut this guy out and take this guy, move it down 12 millimeters. And these will, like I said, occupy the same space. And then we'll just take this one, oops, make sure we're in item mode. Save our item preset as wing R. Actually, sorry, before we do that, there is going to be one issue here that we've looked at in the little short video, but you can take all these, go to UV. This is another way that we can handle fixing the UV on this. Just go to UV maps, logo bump, go over here, scale, and I just want to make sure I'm going the right way. Should be this way. Oops. Turn our negative scale back on. I'll put this at negative 100%. And then you can make your choice on rotation here. I think I like something like that. Spacing down on it. Alright, and we'll save that one. So, save item preset. Oops, make sure we're in item mode. There we go. Save item preset. Wing R. Okay. Jump over to our layout tab just to make sure, and sure enough, there they are. We'll render our views for them and put those in. And congratulations, you have modeled all of the pieces that you need. Looks like a total of 27. Yeah, so looking good. We'll come back in the next video. We'll start texturing, then we'll put the whole thing together. Thanks. See you in the next one.